What's in the case?
Take it easy, brother.
What's in the goddamn case? Open that shit up. Hurry up.
This is not a case. It's a Floyd.
It's beautiful.
I know.
Can I touch it?
Yo, the price of games, rise up, stand the price, the loss of legs. My occupation, in essence, not complacent. Block the banquet, stop the computation. I'ma make the coda, fools just wanna make the quota. They can't rock around here, they need baking soda. This a hydra, no way they taking over. Lay them below the basement with snakes and cobras.
All right, I did it that time.
It worked.
I did it that time.
We're recording.
I did the thing now. When you leave buttons to press to me, I bet you there's a way that I can automate this using my mixer, my mix deck. But I'm not smart enough to do that right now. I don't want to even freaking do it.
I don't even know what a mix deck is, so
I'll show you. It's freaking awesome.
is it the one Elgato makes, that thing?
No,
or are you talking about
no.
the audio thing? Yeah.
I mean, you could probably do that. That's probably going to be the more ideal one, but the Elgato thing, actually, come to think of it, that might be the better way to go.
Deck. That's what it's called,
Stream,
right?
Yeah, that's the one's called the Stream Deck. My mixer deck is the one that that Rode makes, but that's not actually video. That's more audio.
Okay.
That's what this XLR microphone is running into.
Got you. Alan just sent me. There's some software I can purchase, like an audio filter software that I can run through this mic, and it'll sound like yours.
Yeah, all right. Go do that. It seems like that's also an XLR microphone that you got going on, right? Or is it a USB one?
This is a USB one.
Okay.
But it's a good
sound
USB
pretty good.
one.
Sound pretty good now, but
Yeah.
I think one of the better reasons that I grabbed this, it's going to be obnoxious if you get that other one. There's a lot of pre-production stuff that I thought I could get into. Actually, I did get into for a while because, when I started working with Alan for stuff, right? By the way, let's give Alan a little bit of shout out. Alan is the sort of the master, the sensei, the Sherpa guide to all of our audio video production troubles.
Absolutely. He's half of Inkpulp Instruction too, yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's the secret weapon. He's effectively the Inkpulp Instruction Snake Eyes. You send him into a situation, it goes and pacifies it and gets out, leaving not a trace.
That's true.
But Alan is amazing, and it's through my experience with him that I was able to get cued into a handful of things that I needed in order to get an upgrade. Back when I was doing more videos that I was uploading to my YouTube channel, Alan was kind of showing me the way through that. So thank you very much, Alan, for trying to get us to as close as professional as possible. We wouldn't be where we are without you, so thank you very much for your time and trouble.
Most def.
Okay, so what are we talking about? What are we doing?
I have an idea.
Why do we keep doing this? I don't know if this is
You know what?
anymore.
I'll tell you this. What this has organically become is a lot of business talk for the independent artist.
Oh, sure.
And okay, well, I think it's a good thing that we're putting out there. I think we're offering something that I haven't seen much of yet in the comic sphere.
All right. So whatever you're into, good. I'm going to be naturally against it. So
yeah, okay, I figure. I expect that.
As long as you see value in it, because I genuinely don't, but as long as you see value in it,
I do.
I'm into it. Bucko, let's.
I do.
Let's get into it. Now, are you remorseful at that idea because it organically turned into less of a process thing? Because I believe it's still a process thing.
It is a process thing, but no, I'm not upset because it's kind of allowing me to understand this new area of Inkpulp Instruction that I'm opening up, which is we have the 3 levels. We have the foundation studies, and we have the core studies and the advanced studies. But the 4th one is going to be called business studies, and we're going to be recording videos that will give practical business lessons to artists, which I think definitely needed. So this is showing me, it's giving me ideas on what to do, but it's also in terms of just overall content and branding, it's right in line with what we're doing. So I think
all right, as long as there's value in it for you, because right now there's very little value in it for me. So it's
so what? This was your idea. So what do you want to make this? We can change it.
Primarily, it's just you and me hanging out, which I appreciate the most. You decided to somehow find a business reason to do it, which I'm on board for. But me primarily, I'm just gonna sit here and jack off for like an hour and a half.
Okay, alrighty then.
All right. To contribute.
Well, I want to talk to you. I want to know your take on social media and how you use it, and what you use it for.
Okay. All right. What do I use social media for? What am I into right now, social media wise? Give me some context. Why did this come up? Why?
Well, I mean, we spoke a few weeks ago about what I was so consumed with how many followers I had, and then it got me thinking, like, what do I want from social media? And and it just got me thinking, what do people who use it for?
Yeah, I'm a bad test case though, because I don't do it well.
That's why I know you don't do a lot, but you have a lot of followers. But that's why I want to have this discussion. If it's something you don't take too seriously and work hard at, then tell me. I'm curious to know.
That makes for a very short conversation. If I'm all like, I don't care about social
we
media.
Can talk about more after. This is the first conversation.
All right, so hold on. Let me think. How did I ideally use social media? I think similar to in line with how social media is designed, and by that I mean like they want it to be addictive. They want you to stay on their platform. Right. They clearly have their own motivation of why they host it for free. Yada yada yada. Right.
Right.
For that same reason, that's why I was on there, because that rush of like, oh, look at all these followers I'm getting. Look how many people are paying attention to my stuff. And that was what feels like generations ago. These days, there is no longer any sort of like organic growth in the social media space, you know?
You don't think so?
No. At least, I mean, I'm keying on the word organic.
Okay,
right?
okay, that's fair.
There is growth, but I don't know how organic it is in comparison to when I first started using something like Instagram or Twitter, right?
Right.
Instagram was just like, hey, if these many people follow you, chronologically, they're going to continue to see your stuff as long as it's within reason of the time that you posted it, right? So probably going to be at the bottom part of that scroll is going to be your post if you posted it like 7 hours ago, 12 hours ago. But if a guy was studious enough to do it, he'll eventually run into my stuff, right? That's what I mean, right? These days, because of the way algorithm works, they want engagement. They cater the engagement specifically to the people who you've liked or you've commented on and have commented in your stuff and yada yada. I mean, I saw what was I watching the other day where they actually had a liaison from Instagram walking them through how the algorithm ends up favoring you in as far as like when you're engaging on their platform, and it was obscene. It was a full-time job to be on there.
Sure.
Right? Sure. That's why people have jobs in that space, because you hire them on specifically to handle your social media accounts, because if you don't have the time to do it, somebody has to, especially if it's critical to your business and your brand.
Right.
And we could talk about that later. But here's how I used to use it, which is like I'd post every day. Similarly to I would use it on my I would do it on my Blogger or Blogspot. Kind of ran its course, right? There's always this weird, there's this great concentration of something, and then there's the great migration from it, right?
Right.
And Blogger and Blogspot, or like DeviantArt, not even DeviantArt, what was it? Tumblr, right? It was like the place for a little while.
Yeah, Tumblr was huge.
And then it became Instagram, and it became Twitter, right? Twitter's advantage is its easily accessible reshare button. That's how people kind of blow up on there. That's how people kind of end up finding you, is that really critical reshare button, which Instagram doesn't, at least natively back in the day, didn't have. They have similar something like that now, but it's still a little clunky, and it's not known for that, right? There's no such thing as like a retweet button on Instagram.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So anyway, when it became less organic and became more algorithmic, that's when I started to realize this isn't number one, this isn't even giving me the hit that I need. It turns you into like an awful, like a crack addict, you know, because you're like, oh, I used to get X amount of thousands of people paying attention to my stuff. Now I'm getting less. What do I need to do to game the system? Yada, yada. I'm like, this is just too much work, because at the end of the day, that's not what I'm paying attention to. That's not where really my focus is, right?
Where
and
is
I
your
remember
focus?
our good friend Becky Cloonan put it to me. It was super sobering the way she said it then, but it's significantly more sobering now, right? We were all this is the 1 year that she sat with us at Heroes Con, you know, and I remember her, the way she answered, and Becky is I can get along with Becky all day, you know. But the way she answered me, it almost came off as like incredulous. She snapped back, and I realized why, right? Maybe this is not indicative of who she is and how she conducts herself now, but back then, Becky was still publishing things like Wolves and I can't remember the other books that she was doing. What was the one where it was like a knight?
The self-publish. She's done like 4 or 5 of those.
Oh, she's done a ton of them, and she's really freaking good at it, you know. And she's done it historically, right? She's done that stuff ever since she wanted to break into comics, and congratulations to her now, the kind of headway that she's making. Anyway, point is, we were sitting together, and people were asking her for commissions, as they do at these conventions,
right?
And Becky was a little put off by the idea of doing commissions. She's not a fan of it. She's not fond of doing it. She'll do it because, you know, that she feels like it's almost incumbent upon her to do it while she's at a convention, but at the end of the day, given the choice, she'd rather not. She'd probably just end up working, writing, drawing pages or whatever.
Right.
And she kind of made, I don't know the exact rhetoric that I used, but I did say like, or I don't remember the rhetoric that she used. It was something like, oh man, these commissions are really, you know, I really feel bad about, you know, not doing my best on these, so these commissions are great on whatever it was.
I remember her saying stuff like that. Yeah,
it wasn't coming off as ungrateful, but it was definitely coming from a place of like, if I could do something else, it would probably not be this, you know.
Right.
And I remember like, why not? It's your job. And the way she snapped back at that, the way she's like, no, it's not. Right. And I was like, oh, you're right. This isn't your job. And when she said it to me, it took me just like a few seconds to be like, oh, right. This isn't her job. This is the added bonus to her job, but she's not here. She's not doing this because she wants to be at a convention doing commissions. She's here because she wants to make these comics. She's at her core, you know, a comic book creator.
Yes.
You know, not a commissions creator.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So that lands very profoundly with me these days, you know, as we're having conversations about, should we go back? I'll speak for myself. Should I go back to doing conventions again? Should I go do these commissions that are not of my IP, yada, yada. So to answer your question, that's what I'm focusing on. My focus is making comics, you know. My focus is starting, you know, standing up my business, that people understand that I'm just not a writer and an artist, but also I'm a publisher, you know, and I can get on board with my like brand because, you know, there's quality behind it, right?
But don't you see social? Go ahead.
Instagram takes you away from that, right? Because it is a full-time job. Because it can be argued. Don't you see that as a critical part of your business? It could be. Yeah, sure. I can lean pretty heavily on it, but I think there's a better way to get the kind of engagement that Instagram now has actively sort of filtered out, has actively like sussed out because of their algorithm, you know? It's pretty gross, right? So yeah, sure, there's a way that I can leverage Instagram, but in as much as, but in contrast to how I used to do it, which is like pretty heavily, I don't do it as much anymore because the returns aren't there. It's not getting the kind of eyeballs that it needs.
So you don't see it as something worth putting time into in order to help market your publishing?
No, because the return, like, if it's $200, this is a bad example, but I think it's pretty clear. Like, if I have $200 and $200 is like representative of my time, energy, effort, and yeah, my money, right? If I have $200 and I put it into Instagram, am I going to get $50 back, $60 back, $400 back, right? I don't think so at all, right? I don't think it'll ever get anywhere near there. And I know it if we're just using monetarily what that means, right? Because Instagram has the boost feature. And the fact that they have a boost feature clearly states that they're now in the business of like making money off of engagement.
Yeah.
Oh, you want people to engage with you and your brand more? It's going to cost you to do that because we've effectively taken the organic version of that away from you. So for every $100 ad spend in my 100 and I don't know how many followers I have, 150, 160,000 plus.
A lot.
If I'm getting 10% of that, that would actually be worth it. If I'm getting 20% of that, I'd be freaking happy, but I'm not. You know what I mean? And there's a slider on the Instagram app when you start trying to quote unquote boost your post to be like, first of all, how much money do you want to spend?
Yeah.
Right? And based on that slider, it can tell you from this many to this many, this is probably how many people this is going to get to. And I'm like, holy crap, you guys have gamified engagement, which is great because, you know, as your business, you need to find a way to help keep the lights on. But that's my point. I'm going to spend $200 on something and I'm only going to get less than 20% of my followers. And if I'm going to get 20% of those, how many people are actually going to end up buying my books? Because here's the thing. Like, people, it's easy enough for people to follow you on social media. You're like, oh, you're freaking amazing, dude. You got like 60, 50, 100,000 followers from wherever you are, whatever platform that you end up sort of like falling in love with and wherever you are that's popular. But followers are free, man. You know? Like, I would say that if you get 10% of people who are actually willing to plop down the kind of money that you need in order to keep your business going, in order to make something sustainable, you'd be pretty lucky. But most often than not, people are just there because they've been trained to follow for free. They're not really trained to buy anything.
Right. That's very true.
Right.
So where do you see yourself marketing with your publishing business? How are you going to
I'm not abandoning social media. I'm not.
No. I get that. But where else? Yeah. Since you're just casually using social media, where are you putting your money and efforts into in order to get sales?
My 3-year plan is to develop an ecosystem within my own website. Right? That means you don't leave Canete.com, you don't leave Arcathena.com. You're in there and you're hanging out. Now the old way was to have like message boards and blah blah blah.
Right.
But the other way is there are these widgets that you can now fully 100% install onto your website, in which you can have live engagement if you decide to just stay there all day, similar to when you would have Discord, similar to when
Sure. But how are you going to get people to the site?
It's a matter of I believe that it's going to take a lot of effort, but it's a matter of like incentivizing them to go there, right? Hey, you really like my art, the 10% of you who are following me here, not just because it's free, but also because you're really super into it. I don't have the exact plan yet, but I'm going to make that barrier to entry as minimal and as less abrasive as possible, right? How do you sign up for my site? Well, if you do, this is how you do it. It's really super easy. You just click on this button and you're signed up. Oh, you're already on my mailing list? Wonderful. Here's how you sign up. You know, you're already getting this anyway because you're on my mailing list. You know?
Right.
That's it. That's my plan, is to keep growing those people that are following me exclusively, and not necessarily the people who are following me because it's convenient. They're actually invested in understanding and knowing what I'm doing. It's going to be a slow trek for sure. It's going to be a slow way of getting.
I mean, I had a conversation today. I'm putting the same ideas into motion as well.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's, if you want the short answer, that's it. If you want like the game plan of how to do it, I don't have those pieces in place yet, but I definitely do not want to continue and using these social media platforms because, you know, and this is not me being paranoid, because I've lived through more than a handful of social media platforms going away, not the least of which things like MySpace, not the least of which things like, you know, DeviantArt and what do you call it? What is it? Tumblr. That's like all those shops like closed down, right? Even now, as you start seeing where things are going, like, is Facebook going to be all, like, Facebook used to be a viable business. People used to pay money into investing, or excuse me, pay money into Facebook because they knew they would get the kind of marketing that they need out of it, if not outright sales. But Facebook doesn't do that anymore. It doesn't get back as much as you put in anymore. People are still employing that same exact business model, but I don't think it's that viable. Now, given the choices that's out there, it might be the most viable, right? But it's not as viable as it once was.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Good. This is good food for thought.
Is it?
Yes. Because what?
Well, social media to me has turned more into like, it's different. Back in the day, people wanted to see who you were as a personality. So you almost came up with an act, like, oh, here's the guy who, I can't. There's this streamer called Dr. Disrespect that was on Twitch for a while, left to go to YouTube and elsewhere, and he always had this thing. He had a shtick,
Yeah. There's a lot of that.
And and that's what social media has turned a whole lot of different people into. If you were to meet them in real life, you're like, oh, you're not that abrasive. You're actively trying to do this online because you have nothing else going for you. So you think like putting on a Ric Flair or putting on the social media version of Randy Savage, the Macho Man.
Yeah, it's the kayfabe of social media.
Exactly, but then you go but then some people don't know that that's an act. Some
true.
people don't know that it's like a WWE fucking fake thing. So it's not so much that the fan base doesn't know that, right? I trust that they eventually end up seeing through that anyway. But there are some dum-dums on this side of the table, but I mean like actual professionals who conduct themselves like total fucking assholes. Am I allowed to curse on this podcast?
Absolutely. Fucking hell.
Because they don't know. They think that that's like, they believe that by just like acting like jerks, it's the authentic version of themselves.
Right.
And that's the sad part, is that it's not, there's other people out there.
Right.
Say again?
They believe they're being honest. And
yes. And what they didn't understand was that the people that they were looking at, that were acting like jerks, that were like shocking people, that's the kayfabe.
Right. Right.
But they're actually jerks. They're actually like, oh, you are a reprehensible human being. You just didn't know it yet. And now it sort of like, it opened the floodgates to people just acting like idiots, right? Yeah. And then you have this whole, culture turn where people are now policing those idiots. So you can't be as much of an idiot anymore.
Right.
Right. So you see it happen in this weird cycle. There's plenty of people 10 years ago, whenever it was that I opened my Twitter account, where I'm like, I know you in real life. You're not this guy, Right. I get it, though. I get it. I understand. You want to get, like, this is the kind of stuff that makes people raise their eyebrows. I understand why people are following you and why you're engaging with them in a negative capacity and yada, 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 right? But, like, you continue down that path. And then suddenly people are overreacting to it, but not because you did anything, but because culture has changed. And now everybody gets butt hurt so easily. Everybody has they're the 2-ply tissue soft version of what a human being used to be. Like, I can't imagine growing up when I did, and you just know that I'm an old fart, because I can't imagine growing up if I did, where my wife just said this, she had a friend who came to visit. And his friend hung and I tilted really, really badly. I got really annoyed at the idea. Her friend hung the American flag in front of their house, right? And one of their neighbors was like, did you know that hanging that flag is hate speech? And I immediately redlined. I was like, go fuck yourself. No, it's not, And the fact that you think that that's true, that's actually, first of all, just by definition, that's actual speech. Right. When it's the hanging of a flag,
right.
You understand the definition of speech, right? That's not it, And secondly, like, the fact that the person is just patriotic enough to hang something in front of their house, in as much as you're patriotic, whatever it is that you identify with, you hang it in front of your house. It doesn't automatically make it speech. There's nothing associated with that thing that makes you.
Wait. Let me understand.
So anyway,
it was Cassandra's friend's neighbor that hung the flag, or Cassandra's friend hung the flag,
and the neighbor reacted in such a way.
Her. I got you.
We're in that space now. And as
Yeah,
far as
we
like,
are. Oh, we are.
Right?
We definitely are.
That level of just like mental, that's that softness in brain matter that exists now. And so now there's an entire social media. Now you get one person that gets. So this goes back to what I was talking about before when I used to feed into Instagram, because that hit felt really, really good. Oh my gosh, my follower count is growing, and every time I post something, people go crazy over it. Yada yada yada. That's not exclusive to me. That's not exclusive to posting art. That's exclusive to just engaging on social media. The first couple of dum-dums that did do that sort of like soft brain talk on social media, right, and they got a ton of engagement. People saw that and like, whoa, I can get away with that. That's conduct allowable in those spaces. As a matter of fact, it's celebrated. Now everybody's doing it, right? And the kayfabe thing wasn't just exclusive to the guys who were acting like you're Howard Sterns and you're acting like you're, shocking things. Now that same exact muscle that used to flex on that end, the Randy Macho Man Savages, right? The freaking Ric Flairs, that muscle is also twitching for these guys who are standing there, soft-brained or acting like they're soft-brained. Right? Because it's easy to broadcast, to sort of like virtue signal in that space, but not necessarily because you conduct your lives behind it. Or not because you believe it.
No. It's
right, but because you're getting that same exact because you get the same exact hit of us posting artwork and people coming back going like, you're freaking awesome. That feeling of like, look how many people are paying attention to what I'm saying. Right. It's the same exact thing that endorphin release that's releasing into your brain that makes you feel like you're more important than you really are. Right. That's happening, and that's social media through and through. Right? For good or for bad. Now you have to be aware that that's what's happening. But some of these guys can't get off of it, right? They look for it. Right.
Well, I mean, if you use social media that way, social media will respond to you that way.
Oh, for sure.
By showing you more. I mean, I don't see a ton of it because I don't engage with that sort of stuff at all.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I love that statement because my buddy, and we both know him, like Michael DeNicola was saying, like, I rarely go to Twitter. Because Twitter to me has devolved into just a pit of people yelling at each other 280 characters at a time, just people who are anti each other. Like if whatever it is that you're into, guaranteed there's a group of people who are not into that thing,
Right. I don't put a lot of energy into Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't put a lot of energy into Facebook. I do put my energies into TikTok and Instagram.
Sure.
I mean,
help the Chinese, why don't you?
But I am playing along with the algorithm to try to use it to my advantage.
I get it. I get it. By the way,
right now it has value. It's not. You're right. I mean, it's not like end all be all value, but it does have some. I can put a post up where I give a little tiny lesson in whatever I'm drawing, and I can see later that day I sold a video because of it. So I do see a one-to-one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying that as a tool it's invaluable. What I'm saying is that you now have to do the math in your head in as far as how it's valuable to you. You know, like the analogy that I was using is I have $100. Do I want to pour it into this version of social media, or like what's my ultimate goal? Right? Is it because I want to? Is social media going to get me closer to that goal? And should I put any time, energy, and finance into it? So again, I'm not diminishing it. I'm just saying that there's sometimes when you get caught up in it, when you make it all about that, and you decide that the value of you is now associated to whatever that follower number is. I'm all like, some of those people are following because it's so easy to hit a follow button, not because they'll show up to your house and be like, I'm, not 100,000 people, if I ever put out the call, are not going to show in my front lawn going like, I'll help you build a baseball field or whatever the hell, like. Right. That's not going to happen. It's easy to hit a follow button. It's harder to have them engage in a capacity that's actually genuine and supportive, hitting like, it's so easy. It's like, beep. And it feels so good because you know what they do now with the like button.
Just part of the scroll, double tap, like,
Oh, dude, yeah. And Instagram I don't think Instagram is doing it yet, but Twitter is definitely doing it. That when you hit the heart button, it engages the haptic engine of the phone so that it vibrates.
Does it really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's freaking amazing. It's like this amazing sort of programming. You know, not only now is it like visual, but it's also tactile.
Right.
It's freaking amazing. I am in awe of the people who are social engineering the hell out of these social media sites. I love them because it's just like, oh, I jokingly thought like, oh, if they ever decided to use their powers for evil, and I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, wait, yeah.
That might be an underreach on my might be giving them too much credit on my part. Anyway, to go back to your original question, I use social media sparingly and strategically because I know what I'm trying to get out of it, and that kind of engagement, which is like help validate me, you know, which is that engagement. That's not what I'm looking for. Help validate me and my opinion and outlook, my work, and blah, blah, blah. I can do that on my own. What I'm asking you for is your support. That's what I use it for.
Okay. So
and as an awareness tool, right?
That's what you want to get from social media is you want, yeah, that's exactly where I am too.
Yeah, I want to be able to reach out to those people who are easily following me. And by the way, I'm not diminishing it. I'm not saying like, oh, don't follow me if you're not willing to spend money. That's not what I'm getting at.
No,
follow who you want to follow. If I'm putting something up that you genuinely are into, thank you so much. I'm grateful for that because it's rare that somebody's going to look at your work and be like, yeah, because keep in mind, as easy as a follow is, they could follow anybody, right?
Yeah,
and they follow me.
Absolutely.
Right? So I'm grateful for that, right? Yeah. So what I'm saying now is that thank you very much for your follow. There are going to be a handful of you who are going to be huge advocates of my work, and for you, because it takes an extra muscle to flex, which is to dig down into your pocket and sign on to a PayPal, sign on to a crowdfunding site and support. For you, thank you very much. And if it happens to be that you like it enough so that you can spread the good word, I can't even begin to understand how to repay you back for that favor. You know?
Sure. I totally agree. I mean, I look at social media as a means to give free content. A lot of times free little education tidbits. And if you are engaging with those and you are liking those, maybe you'll want to come get a video or get involved with Inkpulp instruction.
I need you to change your rhetoric.
Go ahead.
You said maybe you want to come, right? If you're liking those, maybe you want to come. I want you to change your rhetoric to start saying you should.
Well, yeah, okay.
Start saying that, right? Fair. Long term, that has more actionable value. Maybe puts them into a neutral position.
Right.
You should come is actionable.
Right. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't give away the free little stuff with an expectation of them coming. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's life coaching. Anyway, so so the end goal is to have it all on my website somewhere. And it's to have them go like, man, I really like the experience of being here because I am being given access and content that I often cannot get in the capacity that I would if I were to stay exclusive or neutral into these spaces that have thousands and thousands of people to be here. And I'm a firm believer that you don't need a gazillion people. I would love to have a gazillion people backing me. I would love to have the same sort of like fervor that an Apple has, as a brand. But I think if I have I don't know the number yet. I know people throw around like if you have 1,000.
I keep hearing 10,000.
Yeah, something like that. I think that's the hours, Shawn.
No. 10,000 loyal supporters.
Okay. I don't know what the number is for me. I'm going to guess that's like a general number that they give to everybody, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's informed by a lot of different things.
Yeah,
but for me, I don't know what that number is, but I would like to find that core X amount of thousands of people to be like, I love this book and I'm down to, I love this creator. I love this book. I love this series. I'd love to be able to, that's my goal, is to find that group of people who are just so, like they are into the thing that I'm doing. I would love that.
And that was a good step for me when I switched gears from trying to get followers to trying to get quality, not quantity. Trying to engage with people, not get the masses, but get a smaller amount of people that are really into what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. You're asking what you're doing, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's like you're finding your sort of tribe, your sort of cult, you know?
Right.
Into
That's
the thing that you're
absolutely it.
into,
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm on board for that, man. I want to find those people, and it's not going to be, it's not going to be overnight. Rare. Anytime somebody cites the overnight person, I'm all like, yeah, but that's exceptional.
Yeah.
That's not standard. Most people have to really
right, and I don't know
just trudge along, you know.
Right, and that's how you get the real quality type of person on your platforms. I don't think the overnight stuff is going to translate to sales necessarily.
Yeah, rare does it ever. And I'm trying to think of somebody within our circle, or at least in our outside of our circle, that's like that, where you're like, oh, you're a brand unto yourself, that people are just like, they love everything that you do.
Scotty.
Sure. But isn't Scotty just like, is Scotty still doing stuff for Marvel and DC?
Covers, and he's doing Marvel. I don't think Scotty's ever worked for DC. I can't say that for sure, but I'm almost positive. But yeah, he's still doing those covers.
Okay.
And
it
I
would
think
be
he writes
awesome if he just
Marvel
exclusively step away from that stuff, right? Because he doesn't.
Yeah, I think he's making way. I mean, I agree with you, but I think it does a lot of good for him.
Yeah.
Not just financially, but yeah. Does he need it? No, I don't think so. But
yeah. Well, listen, I'm not in the business of telling Scotty what to do. He knows the nuances of his whatever it is that he's looking for, significantly more intimately than I do. So all the best to him, but I really believe he doesn't need those guys.
Yeah.
I think he probably knows it too, but he just has too much fun doing those covers. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it could be that simple. Yeah, it could be that simple.
Yeah, if he's having a ton of fun. I'm trying to think of another person that I'm like, oh, unto yourself, you are an entire industry.
Oh, okay. So you're saying not even working for like mainstream publishers.
Like they just kind of do it.
I think Andrew McLean is.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Andrew's unto himself entirely.
Okay.
I mean, he's got his own little toy line that's all him. He's got his headlopper that's all him.
Sure.
I mean, everything Andrew does, like Laser Wolf Attack and headlopper, like that's all he built those things, and that's all him.
You know, the true north that I look at in conjunction with somebody like Tim Lim, who does Common America, is Dave Peterson. You know Dave.
Yeah, the Mouse Guard
Dave Peterson
guy?
is like Mouse Guard, right?
Yeah,
Like Dave, I think if I were to map my efforts onto anything, I would hope that I get within sort of arm's reach of what Dave Peterson has done. Which is just like make books, just make books, be really super into the things that you are making, and they're all sort of in the hemisphere, they're in the orbit of Mouse Guard and the stuff that you like to draw, the stuff that you're strongly suited for. I hope that I have that kind of tenacity and longevity, right? Because I see the stuff that he does, and I'm like, man, that guy is still making Mouse Guard stuff, and he's never backed down from it. I have such a high level of respect of somebody who can stay on task, on mission for that long.
Yeah.
And it just has to come from a place of like, I'm really super passionate about this stuff,
Eric Powell's kind of had that too. I mean, he did a little bit here and there at the publishers, but he's mainly the goon.
Yeah.
Jeff Smith with Bone.
Oh, sure. Outstanding success.
Yeah.
I see
Stan
it.
Sakai, huh?
Stan Sakai. That's a good model to be like. I'm wondering, sometimes we look at these, again, these are exceptional people. There's plenty of people who we can't even begin to cite because, number one, we don't know them. They've been going at it for a long, long time, but they've never really made any sort of headway into the space of like notoriety. That's really tough. That's really super sobering. But it doesn't diminish their efforts, right? It's still, they're still going at it 16 years, 10 years, 5 years longer than you and I have.
Right.
And I think I want to get to that. I want to get to that decade mark, 10, what is it? So 8 years from now, and be like, yeah, I've been kind of doing this for 10 years. This is kind of fun still. This is
Mahfood too. I mean, I did a panel in Heroes Con with him, and I didn't realize Girl Scouts started in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for 30-something years.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely
amazing.
And he's just doing it. You know,
Yeah.
he's just like, I have fun doing this. I know I'm a comic book artist, and this is the thing that I do. And so I freaking love that. I want to be in that space. There's another person I can sort of like loosely say, if I could map it to somebody, it'd be like that. But definitely Dave Peterson, whose work I admire, whose conduct I admire, you know. And that's the other thing, I didn't get a chance to talk about it when we were talking about social media, is that in as much as I post on there just enough to get awareness out, just enough to get people interested in my stuff, but then ultimately, you know, find the hardcore people who are going to end up supporting my work, you know, I conduct myself very professionally in that space.
Yeah, I do too.
At least I try to. There's sometimes when I act like a complete goofball, you know, and just be like, this is what I did today. And, you know, I showed off, what was the last thing I did? I had a good laugh over this feature that Twitter just had. They introduced it to like your Twitter circle. Have you seen this? I
saw that when I got onto Twitter this morning.
Did you get a prompt for it?
Yeah.
That made me laugh.
I was like, what?
This platform. Like, send it out to your only close circle of like, but that's not what your platform is about, right?
Right. Well, no, that's for people to talk to their echo chamber. That's what that is. Okay. That's what I thought. That was my immediate response. Is like, oh, if I'm a Wokey, then I can just talk to my Wokies and we can all complain. Or if I'm crazy on the other side, I can talk.
And nobody else can see it. It doesn't pop up on like.
I guess you
does
choose.
It favorite them, or does it like exclusively go to them? You know what I mean? Like,
I think it. I don't know. My assumption was you choose who it goes to, and only those people can see it.
I'm gonna freaking put you in my Twitter circle and just see if anybody else can see that shit, you know. And if everybody else can see it, I'm gonna kick you right out because who cares, right?
Okay.
But yeah, no, I saw that and I took a screenshot of it and I posted it. The other one was like when I was showing people that whole, you know, signal boost for Instagram. You know, I was kind of goofing on that a little bit, but 9 times out of 10, I'm on there just, you know, telling people, hey, here's my experiences when I used to work on this, or here's where my brain is now in as far as my growth path. When I did it earlier this morning when I was thinking like, you know, this self-publishing thing is really super tough. This self-publishing thing takes a whole lot of work, actually I didn't phrase it like that. I said like, these days I've come to really love making and drawing comics, right? The business of comics I'm still getting used to. Mm-hmm. But ever since I started doing this on my own, it really felt something really clicked, you know?
Yeah, I want to feel that.
So now like those are the kinds of things that I post now, right? Like I don't do anything, but again, the nature of Twitter is somebody, regardless of like 1,000 people understanding, whoa, that's a really positive message. That's really super like inspirational, or that's kind of great. A pat on the back, congratulations kind of thing. You know, there's always one dummy out there that's like, look at this fucking boomer. You know,
right?
Let me give you an example. There's this one dum-dum who, what I was celebrating was the idea that when I first started in comics, I got so hung up on the nerdiness of making comic books that I could never do it fast enough to make it financially viable. Like,
right, me too.
You know, comics was only paying X amount per page, and if you're going to take a week to do a page, more power to you, but you're not going to make any money off of that. Right. You know, so you need to crank, right? And so, but I didn't understand what it meant to crank and do so with quality until I left, got into animation, did storyboards. And then came back to comics going like, oh, this is easy because I'm just storyboarding. Yeah, I'm adding a few more lines, but for the most part, this is just storyboarding for me with like a little bit more TLC because I'm not zooming through 300 panels worth of voice action adventure storyboards.
Right.
And so I said one of the greater benefits that I ever had going into animation is that when I came back to comics, I felt like I was that much more prepared in the actual, with my toolkit. I was not just, you know, when you're drawing comics, especially for mainstream comics, you're not just drawing for the sake of drawing. There's all sorts of isms built into it. You need to do it monthly. You need to do it you know what I mean? Like there's all of these things that you accommodate for you to be able to consider yourself a decent enough storyboard artist, or excuse me, comic book artist, for them to keep asking you to come back. Right. It's the exceptional people that take it to a next level. Anyway, my point was, when I came back, I felt really comfortable that I can draw it faster because of all of these things that I did in animation. There's one dum-dum that was like quote tweeting me. I was like, look at this freaking boomer and how he's like contributing to what's wrong in the animation industry.
What was your tweet about?
I said, I learned how to do things faster.
Right.
They're leveraging that to be like, look how this guy, thinking that doing it faster is better and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, just
but that,
really
that
negative...
tweet is about his insecurities.
Oh,
That's what that's
I
about.
understood that. I
Yeah,
completely understood that to be like, oh, it's amazing being irrelevant and poor. How do you do it, And for somebody to be able to talk as if they're an expert in this space, I could have leaned into that and that could have leaned into that thing and be like, oh yeah, I remember working with you on Tron and on Justice League. Dude, that was tough times for us. Remember how hard? Oh no, you weren't there because you were fucking unemployable. You know what I mean? Like, I could have leaned into that really
Sure.
hard.
Don't let it get
best,
in there. You're
right,
getting angry
the
now.
The thing that I did was just to say, a quote tweeted the guy, or at least screen capped the guy, and was like, I think this fellow missed my point entirely. Here I was celebrating my ability to be able to draw faster and with good quality, and this dummy's trying to reflect that onto me. It's to say, like, look how misguided you are at the idea of being able to draw faster.
You know what I
Once
do?
in a while, I'll break kayfabe, that professional kayfabe, because I could have just left that guy alone, right? Like, it's like a fire that's like wanting for oxygen. To your point, the guy was just like reflecting to me, or like revealing to me their sort of insecurities and their irrelevancy.
Right.
But somehow that struck a chord with me where I'm like, whoa, I need to not deal with this. So
I understand that. I understand that. So what I do is, like, I get a bad comment. Like, I got I'm doing this Wolverine drawing, and I was doing the drawing for a demo at TCAF.
Yeah.
And one of the comments I got was, if you're gonna mess up Logan's mask that bad, don't even put it on him.
Right. That's awesome.
And then
I love that comment. That comment is so primo.
So my response to him was, I hope you have a good day.
Yeah.
That's all I could say.
Yeah. It's people are actively, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but I know in part people are just trying to be as relevant on that platform as possible. And sometimes going negative is the easy one. It takes so many less muscles and brain cells to do it.
Yeah. Look at the news.
To say,
look at the news.
Sometimes I'll break kayfabe.
Right.
Sometimes, it's really easy, right? Because they've been trained to do it, And it is to say that sometimes I break kayfabe and I end up in that space. I'm not proud of myself for doing it, but I'll do it only because it's like, whatever.
We are human.
Yeah. Yeah, I try not to be. I try to be as dead inside as possible. I mean,
you're pretty close to dead, but you're still...
I'm there. I feel like once in a while something resuscitates me, and I try to be as passionless as possible, but something will trigger me in the worst way possible. Actually, you know what? The thing that'll do it almost automatically is when I find that a certain institution, in whatever capacity it is trying to take advantage of artists.
Oh, yeah, that's a hard one. I get fired up.
I really don't like that feeling. I mean, like, there's rare that I get into...
That's when I break kayfabe, too. I remember, like, during our lunch break, I decided to try the first episode of that Moon Knight series. And then at the end, it just said, created based on the stories by Marvel Comics.
Right.
And I was like, you motherfuckers. And I tweeted it out. And I was like, why isn't Bill Sienkiewicz, why don't we see his name here?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when you're taking advantage, or at least seemingly in your inaction or your like indifference, it reads as, oh, we don't want to deal with that because that's not our problem, not my circus, not my monkeys.
Well,
it is your circus,
Yeah. So when I did that and put it on my story and kind of said something, I got one DM from a friend who was like, I think maybe they're scared to put names there because they'd have to put Warren Ellis there, and he's been canceled. I was like, really?
So stupid. So it's like, yeah, let's not accommodate everybody because this guy we shouldn't accommodate.
Yeah.
As if he's trying to erase him that he did do a good Moon Knight story or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
It's so dumb. People are just so dumb sometimes. This is one that, and by the way, we're not going to go down the path of like current topics, but the one that really sent me over the edge recently is when this guy who did a really, I believe to be like a really underwhelming job of doing Miles Morales' Thor, right? He's been accused of everything under the sun, not the least of which, like...
Wait, what's Miles Morales' Thor?
Oh, yeah. Let's give this 5 minutes, and then let's get off of it and think about something else. So because Marvel as a whole is like bereft of ideas, they take an already successful character, which, has, by the way, in one of its incarnations has won an Academy Award for best animated film. Right. The big brains over there thought, let's take this character and reimagine him into every character within our IP. So Miles Morales as Captain America.
This was in the comics?
Yeah. This is what they do now. Just recently.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Dumb.
It's amazing leadership. It's amazing, sort of like quote unquote House of Ideas, sort of like this is it. Yeah. This is where you guys are going.
Here's how to not have an original idea. Go ahead.
That's not the point. The point was they went and did it. Okay, fine. It's their publication. It's their characters. Blah blah blah. I don't agree with it, but here's the one that really got me pissed off. So one of the writers took Miles Morales and turned him into every sort of stereotype of what you would think a black urban kid would be, but now in Asgard.
Oh no. Oh no.
It was awful. I'm not going to get into it, but it has things like by Odin's Fade. There's like...
Oh no.
It's just awful. It's just
no.
So... Yeah, it's more comical than anything. But when people start throwing around the concept like, oh, this is so racist and this is so bigoted and this is so like tone deaf, I'm like, it could be all of those things, but really it's just because this is really poorly written, and I don't blame the writer. He didn't go into Marvel with a gun and say, give me this fucking Miles Morales Thor story or else. They're like, we'll reach out to you. So I always point at leadership and be like, it's your guys' fault, right? Because you guys are supposed to go through this with a fine-tooth comb and tell them, hey, this might not be a good story.
Right, I have to read this book now. I really
You should. We'll read it together in one of the episodes. We'll do like a reading of it. Right?
Okay.
Anyway, so anyway, the point is the writer, typical Twitter, goes out and goes after him and says like, you're a bad guy for writing such a stupid, writing Miles Morales in such a stupid way.
Yeah.
And then like... This guy typically goes, it's obvious and you can see it coming a mile away. This guy goes on an apology tour. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that. I should have been more sensitive. I'm going to
see, Eric. This is what I'm talking about with Twitter. I don't see this stuff because I don't engage.
I don't see it either because I was going to make a point to say that Michael didn't earlier. I was going to make a point to say that Michael didn't call. It's like he can't go to Twitter because it's such a cesspool, and I'm all like, it's a cesspool because you're not actively curating your experience there I do, right?
Okay.
I go and the moment there's some. I'll say this. I'll say this quite flatly. There are times when I have quote unquote associations, friendly associations within the comic book industry, where before I would just unfollow them. But that is such a huge strike to people's like soft egos. Sometimes they're like, their hearts are so fragile,
Right.
So now when they unfollow, I found the mute button.
Yeah,
and it's
awesome.
amazing.
I like the
because
mute button.
you don't end up offending anybody.
No, they have no one knows but you.
I suspect that people have done that with me as well. Even better,
sure.
If you can't stand the kind of stuff that I do, and I don't have a soft heart, unfollow to your heart or to your heart's content. I don't care. But anyway, I found the mute button. It's amazing. Point is, I curate my experience on Twitter, so I don't get to see that horseshit. Right. But sometimes things still sneak in because I still go onto YouTube. I have my podcast that I listen to, and this thing was the hot button thing, so everybody was talking about it.
Okay, so he went on an apology tour?
Yeah, and he decided, hey, I'm going to donate the money that I made. I think it's this. I'm going to donate the money that I made on this project to a local, whatever it is, whomever it is that I offended. I'm going to give the money to them or an organization that represents them. So it's even better, right? And then the Twitter mob was like, "Hooray! We won. We did the thing that we do. We would never buy this book anyway, but hooray!"
Right.
You know,
right. And we're not. We don't help any of the causes we're offended
0%.
by.
We just help to highlight and complain. We're not here to fix anything. We're not here to fix anything. We just want to tell you that your house is fucking sinking or whatever it is. You know, hey, help me lift up my house, and so it's not sinking. And like, what? No, we're not. We don't do that. We point from afar. So that's not my point. My point is, this guy went on the thing, and I took a step back, and I kind of like, where is the publisher?
Right.
Where is the leadership in Marvel that said, we signed off on this? Actually, he should have to pay $0. We'll do it.
Right.
It's our tone deafness. It's our inability to understand how kooky this story is and how poorly that it was done, to the point where this person is now getting publicly attacked. We'll get in front of this. And this isn't like some guy acting out of order when it comes to like their personal interrelationships within the comic book community. This guy represents you. Right? Represented
that's
your
a very
publication.
good point.
And you did not take the opportunity to go like, our bad.
Right.
That's on us. Don't do anything to this guy. We did this. We saw the story and we saw nothing wrong with it. Our bad. We'll do what this guy is effectively trying to do.
Absolutely.
0%. Not even his editor showed up in the comments to say, nope, that's on me. I did that. You know who did that? That I was like, holy mackerel, I can't believe that you're doing this. Was Steve Wack. And the example that I gave online was Steve. That's the one that really started me like, where the fuck is Marvel's leadership? Where was the editors? Where was the assistant editors? Where's the editor in chief going like, our bad. That's on us. We shouldn't do like that should be common practice. Absolutely. You know who used to do that for Marvel? It was Steven Wacker. When I did that Spider-Man story, it was one fill-in issue of Spider-Man, and it was done in such a way that I was paying tribute to the Spider-Man that I knew, which was Todd McFarlane. I loved that kooky stuff, but by the time I was doing it, John Romita Jr. had already sort of established that realistic Tobey Maguire, you know, all the spider webs that were like embroidered onto it. Like it was being rendered in that capacity. It wasn't just like a graphic thing, you know? So mine was a bit off-putting, understood, and I should have done a better job of like reading the room, like, this is probably not it. But in my arrogance and in my youth, I thought Todd McFarlane's the Spider-Man that I love, I'm going to draw that. And as a matter of fact, when I turned in those pages, I was hesitant. I was a little gun-shy until my editor said, actually, that's awesome, keep doing that. I'm like, oh, really? You like that? I'm going to give it to you both barrels, right? Issue comes out.
Well, let me, just to be fair to yourself, a lot of us got into this because we loved watching artists bring their touch, and that's what we all wanted to do. We wanted to get a hold of these characters and put our thoughts on it.
That's fair. I thought that there was still an environment for that. Clearly, there was no longer that. But my editor said, go for it, and I said, absolutely, I'll go for it. Now, I had an extended working relationship with Steve. I worked with him on Iron Man, so he understood the look that he was going for. He understood who he was hiring. And he said, you know what? I'm going to basically take my foot off the brakes and just let Eric do what he does. I appreciated him for it. Issue comes out. Spider-Man fans didn't like it very much, right? To the point where they're just like, every message board that was Marvel related for the books that came out that week. And it's not exclusive to like Marvel.com or whatever message boards they populated back in the day. This was across the internet. And everywhere that they talked about that issue, I would say 80%, 90% negative,
Wow.
What the heck is this guy doing? Oh my gosh, maybe he doesn't, he put a last name like Canete, maybe it's not his first language, maybe like all of those things, there's just like really, really poor reviews of what I did. At the time, I didn't care. I was in Rome. I was like on vacation. I don't care. Like it's out in the wild. What am I going to do? Like, apologize for loving the way Todd McFarlane drew Spider-Man and right? But you know who was in every single one of those message board threads? Steve Wacker. Steve Wacker, and I think, and if I'm misrepresenting him, please forgive me, Tom. Should you ever hear this? Tom Brennan, who's the assistant editor of the.
Yeah, Tom was Steve's assistant. Yeah.
Yeah, for a while, and then I think when Steve exited, Tom became a full-time editor himself. But the point is, they were in the mix every time. And you know what they were saying? I love Eric's work. Right. I love it. Sorry you don't like it, but we really believe that he brought the kind of energy that this particular issue needed. Right? It was a one-off, so it's not going to be like ongoing. Like all of those things were like just temper your, like basically setting up expectation moving forward without throwing me under the bus. The thing that they did to this writer, right, when their silence is basically like, we don't want to get into that at all. That's not for us, right? And that to me is a version of leadership. It's not one that I'd want to work with. It's not one that I want to work for.
Right.
And it's across the board like that because everybody gets so butthurt so very quickly, right? I don't know if they know how to handle, they don't have the people skills in their toolkit to be able to deal with like how to, disarm a situation, right? De-escalate a situation.
Oh, yeah. No, they don't have that.
Anyway, let's do a reading of that book. And just like that'll fill easily 2 hours as we do a reading of it. It's pretty freaking hilarious,
All right, let's do it. You got to tell me which book it is so I can get it.
Let me see if I can I'll find it and I'll download it. And I just want to. Enough of that. I love what that's turned into, which then for me helps me focus on the things that's ultimately important, which is my own work and my own book, because I can get into that awful mental headspace of like, what are they doing over there? And I understand why some people do it because they are so invested in those characters. They are so invested in their history with them. They're collecting and blah, blah, blah. And so when something like that happens, people kind of explode. The internet encourages you to explode. Yeah. But I look at that now and I'm all like, the X-Men that I read still exists, Right. The Chris Claremont stuff that I love, the Spider-Man issues that made me want to watch it, or that made me want to collect it, they still exist. So it doesn't hurt the Spider-Man that I like, Right. And that's for me is finding the personal mechanism, the system that I employ whenever I get to like hung up on like, what the fuck are they doing over there? Only to be like, it's none of my business. Like that's not
right.
If that was my job, then I'd ask. I'd be like, or if I was actually loyal to it or invested in it, I'd be like, what are they doing over there? And go on a complaint tour, And I'm all like,
complaint tour.
Michael De Nicola captures it well, and I remind because of the way it's said, it immediately makes me laugh and it makes me care less, which is like, what that guy eats doesn't make me shit.
That's it.
I love that saying because it cracks me up every time that I say it out loud, and
but
it just disarms me.
Exactly.
It's so funny that I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna go work on my own books now.
Yeah, and that's what you should do. And now we're at an hour.
We are at an hour, so we're gonna cut it off there. I hope that ended off on a semi-positive note.
It did.
We'll do this again next week. All right. Let's run this thing.
Run it.
So we'll have a proper outro. Ready?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Let's see if it works.